This week, the Motorhead Garage crew installs a high-tech stereo that looks like original equipment for a classic, a device to take away throttle delay, the simple tool that made a rare Jeep vehicle restoration easier, and other must-haves for your garage. Coming up next on Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings.
Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Motorhead Garage is presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
This is Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, and that right there, that is a great looking 1971 Chevrolet pickup truck. We have fond memories of those when we were growing up, seeing those driving around. You know what? Riding in them wasn't that great. When it came to stereo sound, you had none. It had an AM radio that came factory, and that was it. And if you had a speaker, it was just like a little clock radio up in the dash. Well, guess what? You can have modern sound now in a vehicle like this, and you don't have to spoil the good looks of the vehicle. You don't have to tear up the dash, thanks to Custom Auto Sound. They have radios that look period correct for your vehicle. They cover all kinds of makes and models. I counted 16 different makes and hundreds of different models to fit your vehicle. Now, Custom Auto Sound, it's not just about good looks. These are quality stereos. Their process of testing is second to none. First of all, there's a temperature and aging test to make sure that these are going to stand up to the rigors of any weather, an extreme temperature test for the cold and the hot, and a vibration test, because let's face it, you're going to put this in a hot rod, you're going to have a great engine underneath, it's going to try to shake everything loose. The Custom Auto Sound radio is going to stand up to that torture test. And when it comes to the stereos, like I said, you can find the one that's going to fit your make and model. But if they don't have one specifically for your vehicle, they also have universal radios. They all look great. And like I said, they're going to be period correct. They're going to look fantastic. Custom Auto Sound doesn't stop at the head unit. They also have custom fit speakers for all positions in the car. Universal speakers if they don't have specific ones for your vehicle. And again, they all fit the original look of that car. Also, with Custom Auto Sound, I mentioned modern conveniences. Well, guess what? You can have Bluetooth, CD or DVD, noise filter. There's a hideaway antenna if your vehicle can accommodate that. And of course, you can plug in your MP3 player and have all your tunes with you when you go cruising down the street in your hot rod. And when it comes to installation, couldn't be simpler. The thing I love about the Custom Auto Sound system here is everything is color-coded and it's labeled and it comes to you that way. You look here on this unit, here's a USB port to plug in your MP3 player if that's the way you connect. Gives you some options. And here's the microphone plug if you're using Bluetooth, and Bluetooth is so important these days, and it's mandatory in a lot of places. You want to be hands-free, of course. And if you have a subwoofer, they have a place for that to go out as well. Speaking of the other speakers, there's a separate harness here for all the speaker wires. Every one of them is color-coded. Every one of them is labeled so you know exactly where those are going. Now, this truck actually doesn't have any speakers in it right now. We're going to put some kick panel speakers in it from Custom Auto Sound a little later on. So that's all we need to hook up once we get these in. Now, there's a second harness back here we've already connected here, and that's for power. So we'll plug that into the bottom of our unit here. We did remove the glove compartment. That's going to make installation a whole lot easier. We've learned that in these C10s through the years. You might have to do some yoga and a little bit of finagling to get some stuff into your vehicle, but it's really not that hard. The glove compartment coming out of these things is not hard. It's just a piece of cardboard and some screws, and you are all set to go. Now here we get the power harness connected. Once I get that in the back of the unit, it just goes in with a click and you know it's in there and it's seated because you can feel it go in here, and we'll run it in behind the dash. We move the stereo up in here. It's perfect fit already. Now we've got a couple of nuts here. Actually, washer first. Fits right over the top there. We're going to run these nuts down. It'll hold it in place. And Custom Auto Sound, as I mentioned, has stereos for so many different makes and models. And you can bet it's going to look perfect with your vehicle once you get it in the dash. And once you get that first nut on there, it's a great idea to get a socket. You can just, it's a little easier way to get some leverage on that to run that nut down. We'll do the same thing on the other side there while it's holding on there. When you're doing anything with your vehicle, it's an important thing to remember to take your time, especially with a classic like this, because it's a one of a kind. You don't want to ding it. You don't want to make any mistakes with the wiring in the back. You don't want to get stuff hung up. Take your time. We preach that on Tech Garage as well. It's worth taking the time if you love keeping your vehicle. And here, the nuts can be A little tricky, and that went on just fine. And again, run it down with that socket wrench. You're gonna love the way this thing trims out. This is so cool. Once we got that on, we have two parts of the knobs here, the backing on it. You can find it's notched perfectly to fit on there, and same with the button itself. Once you get it to rotate on there, look how that fits on that side. It makes it look like an authentic stereo, and this is great. Being the slide bar radio, check this out. You park it, it looks like an analog radio back from 1971, and when you want to get going then, you flip it the other way, turns into a digital readout, and you get to see your digital tuning, and you get to see who's on the Bluetooth there. Nobody will be any the wiser when your car is parked in the lot. This thing looks authentic, it sounds fantastic, sounds like a brand new stereo. You can find this and any model to fit your vehicle at customautosoundmfg.com. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Don't go anywhere.
Wow, wow, wow.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. BrothersTrucks.com, your #1 source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC truck restoration. Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. NH Oil Undercoating, the official oil-based rust prevention system. And by Schaefer Oil, putting engines first.
This is Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, and this product won the best new product at SEMA in 2010 when it was invented. It is still the best today. It's a throttle controller called Sprint Booster. Norman, most great products solve a problem. What was the problem that Sprint Booster solved?
Well, in the late 90s, drive-by-wire became more usable in vehicles. Where we used to start with cable, we had that connection at the pedal to the carburetor or the throttle body. They started doing away with that and everything was electronic. Well, in doing so, it actually became very delayed. You have a potentiometer built into the pedal assembly. It's a low voltage. It sends a slow voltage to the ECU, and then what happens is that the throttle body moves at a very delayed rate. No matter how fast and how hard you press the gas, the throttle body is disconnected from the user.
And so how did you solve the problem with Sprint Booster?
Well, Sprint Booster actually plugs into the pedal assembly, where it's a simple device. It takes about 5 minutes to install on most. It has a controller on the side, and with this you can actually turn that slow throttle blade into a much more linear movement where you can see the blade moving at a much faster rate, and all the way up to more of a race movement where you have a 1-to-1 ratio where you still have 0 to 100% throttle travel, but when you want it.
And there's a lot of products out there that are imitators, and I've heard that you're missing some of the throttle control. You don't have full control of it.
Yeah, Sprint Boosters, the different level in a Sprint Booster actually determines the driver's use. So you have a manual and automatic mode, which has different tip-in values. Tip-in is the initial throttle blade movement in correlation to the pedal movement. So when you first hit the gas, either it's going to be extremely fast or a little bit more ramped into that speed.
How many different settings are there on the Sprint Booster?
Sprint Booster has 9 different levels in each setting. So in green mode, you have 9 levels, 1 through 9. Now it's kind of like your stereo.
And green would be like stock, if this is more of a street version.
Well, yeah, it's a street version. So the tip-in value is a little bit softer, but you still get that ramp. And I always compare it to a stereo because, a stereo has maybe 1 to 50, right? So if you had a car stereo and let's say it went to 1 to 50, 50 doesn't necessarily sound good. And with Sprint Booster installed, just because it has level 9 doesn't mean that it's going to be right for that driver.
Gotcha. And now the race mode?
Wow.
Race mode is for the enthusiast that really just wants to feel that raw power of the vehicle. It doesn't matter if you have 1,000 horsepower. If you don't have access to it, it's pointless. So if you're putting this in, let's say, a Hellcat, you have a complete control in race mode. From 0 to 100% throttle, you don't lose anything, you gain everything.
And now there's some extra features in there, not just about performance.
Yes, Sprint Booster also has a valet mode and it has a pedal lock mode. Pedal lock is a version of an anti-theft, and you'll put a code in there and it prevents anyone from driving your vehicle if you don't want them to.
It's drive-by-wire, so it's just an on-off switch.
It's an on and off switch. In valet mode, you can pull back the power. If you have an 800 horsepower car and you don't want your son hot dogging it, you know, you're going to put it down to maybe 300 horsepower that's accessible to him.
If only Ferris Bueller had had one of these years ago.
He would have still gotten in trouble.
No doubt about it. So a lot of folks are asking, how safe is this? Anytime you plug something in, especially when it comes to electronics, you end up with issues with voiding the warranty or throwing a code or something like that.
You know, that's what makes Sprint Booster amazing. Sprint Booster talks to the ECU in the language that the ECU was designed to listen to from the factory. The factory parameters never get changed. The ECU that you have in your car does not get changed. If the ECU allowed it, Sprint Booster talks to it in that language and says, do this, and the ECU allows it.
Perfect. It's a simple design. What actually comes in the box?
Well, Sprint Booster box, when you first open it, you'll see that it has the controller inside of it along with all your manuals. The controller itself is pretty basic. It's about the size of your thumb. Once you actually have it set up in a level preset, you can actually unplug the controller from the unit and it still has that memory that you last left it at.
How many different vehicles can use the Sprint Booster?
Sprint Booster has over 1,200 applications right now, ranging anywhere from a diesel to gas and EV. You know, diesels, where they don't have a throttle body, they still have the pedal assembly. So when you actually plug a Sprint Booster into a diesel application, it almost acts like a programmer without actually reprogramming anything.
Very cool. And what about EVs then? How does it work there?
EVs, the same issue, where we're playing around with all electric vehicles right now. We know the hybrids work amazingly well. And right now we have some test vehicles out there with an EV unit, and it works very well too.
You're going to love the throttle response when you install a Sprint Booster. You can find them at sprintboosterusa.com. And you can find more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings when we come back. Stay tuned.
Dragonfire Tools, quality affordable storage. Proud sponsor of our DragonfireTools.com studio. Time now for the lowdown with Magic Creeper.
Ran into Dennis Parnaby here at the Jeep Invasion in the Smoky Mountains. He's got this beautiful Jeep behind us, and he said that when he was rebuilding it, he used a Magic Creeper. Dennis, why'd you buy a Magic Creeper?
Because I've watched it on TV and how easy it is to use. And if I'm out, when it breaks down, I can slide underneath it.
How does the Magic Creeper compare to your expectations when you saw it on TV?
Exactly the way it was advertised. Never had a minute's trouble.
A lot of folks like to look under your Jeep. Do you get to show off the Magic Creeper then?
I haven't, but as of now, I will, because I wish I'd have brought it today, because everybody wants to get on their hands and knees to look underneath it to see the Jeep.
You've used regular mechanics creepers before. How does a Magic Creeper compare to one of those?
It doesn't compare. It does not compare. The wheels get caught on the little tiny stones underneath it, and even in the garage, that gets caught underneath the wheels, and it's hard to get it to move. But the Magic Creeper, it just works unbelievably nice. I can scoot right underneath it.
What are some of the things you've been able to do with a Magic Creeper that you didn't think you'd be able to do?
Use it for a knee rest. That's one thing, because you're all the time underneath this thing, fiddling with something. Rebuilding it, it's handy, light. You can throw it out and scoot right underneath it and get the work done.
And it weighs only 3 pounds, so you can take it with you. You can't do that with a traditional creeper at all. Find the original Magic Creeper at magiccreeper.com. That's what Dennis did. Yes, sir. Tribotex, it's kind of voodoo in a bottle. It does a lot for your car, but how it works is very sciencey.
Yeah.
And Brian Hansen, you're the lead engineer, so you speak layman too, so tell me how it works.
All right. Tiny particles, nanoparticles, not even observable under a microscope. They have a sticky side and a slippery side. These sticky sides need a lot of force, a lot of impact to cause them to fuse to a metal surface. Once these particles build up layer by layer, they create a slippery surface, which reduces that friction or impact that is used to apply it. So they only build up as much as they need, only where there's enough force. So let's take an example. We got a journal and a bearing rocking around. it's going to build up in those areas that are knocking, and it will slowly recenter that journal and bearing, and there's no more friction or impact that can apply any more nanoparticles in that area, and they just travel through the rest of the engine.
That's amazing. And here's just where it needs to go.
Only where it needs to go. It's a ceramic coating that self-applies.
Incredible. And you want a clean surface to begin with, ideally. So what's the best way to make sure that surface is clean and ready for Tribotex to adhere to it?
We recommend when you change your oil beforehand to flush it with a solvent, a cleaner. We've been developing one called BR1, and this cleans the metal surfaces. As your engine oil degrades, it can build up sludge or carbon deposits, and you don't want the nanoparticles to stick to those because those can fall off the engine. You want a nice clean metal surface, and those particles will stick there and stay for the life of the engine.
And BR1, it proves itself in all kinds of other ways. What are some other applications? You've told me some of them, they're amazing.
Yeah, it's a non-toxic solvent. It's safe for using around the house. You get anything that's gooey or sticky, dissolves it very nice. You want to keep it away from your paints though. It loves to eat resins, but in an engine, resins are made from the oil degrading, and this stuff will just dissolve it and flush it out when you change your oil.
Well, Tribotex works great, and it works even better when paired with BR1. You can check them both out at Tribotex.com. I tell you what, to get into the SEMA show every year, you've got to be part of the automotive industry or you can't get in. But we here at Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, are your ticket to the latest and greatest of what's going on in the automotive world. We've got a lot more when we come back right after this.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is brought to you by Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. Clamp Tight, the clamp making tool. Tribotex, make your engine last longer. AP Laser, leading the way. And by Dragonfire Tools, industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage.
When you go to DragonFireTools.com, you're going to find the highest quality tool storage solutions. You're also going to find a tremendous variety, lots of drawer configurations. Lou, how do those items all fit into a system like this?
Well, as you can see here, we have a 7-foot workbench, and we have one of our 9-foot 4 1/4 workbenches, and also one of our locker cabinets. Above our 24-drawer 7-foot workbench there, we have 3 wall cabinets, which are the exact same length as the workbench. And over here, we have 4 wall cabinets, which is the exact same length as a 9-foot 4 1/4 workbench. To be able to put those together into a corner without having an actual corner unit is tough, right? Because you're gonna have a blank space there. So this year, we came out with the lower corner units and the upper corner units to be able to match up in that type of space.
Of course, it maximizes the use of space, but also gives it a great uniform look. And how important is that to a lot of the professionals you deal with?
A lot of the professional shops that we work with, they want a uniform look in their shop. So rather than having a red toolbox and a blue toolbox and a green toolbox with stickers all over it, okay, we chose and went with the gunmetal gray for the best color configuration because gunmetal gray goes with everything. And it just looks modern and professional.
Now the pros are using this not just because it looks good, but because these are going to take a beating day in, day out. What are some of the construction features that are going to make sure this lasts forever?
We're using single and double railed systems on these. Our thin drawers are single railed and rated for 200 pounds, and our deep drawers are double railed and rated for 400 pounds. A lot of the drawers, including the deep drawers and the wide drawers, have top hat gussets underneath for strength and rigidity.
These units from DragonFireTools.com are going to take the abuse of everyday use. They're great for your home. They're great for your professional shop. Again, you can find them at DragonFireTools.com. That's also where you can find a discount code MOTORHEAD. Going to get you free shipping and a discount. Here at NHOU, Joe, you've got 2 signature products. Tell me what the difference is and how they work under my car.
So basically, same product. This one, which is our back in black, has a carbon tint. We had a lot of customers come in and said, hey Joe, this looks great, but gee, if, I know I'm getting the protection, but if you could improve the appearance while protecting the surface, boom, back in black. So the 2 will give you the same protection, and one will substantially improve the appearance of that surface.
Now, we know people are very crafty, And you've got to believe that people have come up with other ways to use this stuff. Where are some other applications for this that you've learned?
Well, so it is engineered for that application, but honestly, any metal surface would be pretty close to that application. And we've found people that are having very good results using this in HVAC systems, not only on the metal surfaces, but the wires, because it's non-conductive. It is actually going to stop corrosion on the wires, and it helps a little bit with mice as well. We find it on boat trailers. They'll do the rear end of the vehicle, especially, that's always going into the water. It is a great agricultural use on farm equipment. It helps hay equipment, different types of lawnmowers or brush hogs.
And you touched on it, mice have been a problem, and you developed a new product specifically to address that.
Yes, so that was from one of our great customers who came in and said, hey, listen, this is a big problem. One of the ways I solved it was with a menthol. I know that that is a deterrent, so what we did was we added menthol to our clear oil, and we also know that the oil is a deterrent, because in my shop, when we spray vehicles, these mice, if they're in there, they're gone. And everyone had mice in our complex except us, and it was because they did not want to step on this oil. Well, you combine that with the smell, and we've added one thing else additional, which makes it smell like a cat urine, which is predatory. It's a very effective way to keep rodents out.
Well, you can keep the mice away, you can keep the rust away, and you can find out how at NHOilUndercoating.com. We are grateful to New Hampshire Oil for sponsoring Motorhead Garage, and we're grateful to you for watching us every single week here on Motor Trend. We're going to do it once again next week. We hope you join us then. And remember, if you have a product you want to see on Motorhead Garage, email Jeff at masterstv.com. Until next week, from our entire crew here at our Dragonfire Tool Studio, we'll see you next time on Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. So long.